We have a gerontology master's track, as well as some gerontology courses in the undergraduate school. And Doug reminded me, Doug Richards, a couple weeks ago, he said, you know, you still have to keep telling people that Springfield College School of Human Services isn't accredited college, because people look at it and say it's a weekend school, and they say it can't be for real. But it really is. And we have such fine persons as Dr. Ruth Jacobs on a part of our staff. Okay, enough of that. Some of you have already bought and seen Ruth's book back here, her latest edition, which she's going to talk about today. I first met Ruth by reading one of her earlier books, Life After Youth. What's the second part of it?
Female 40, What Next?
Female 40, What Next? And that was about 20 years ago for me, so I was about that age.
1979.
Yeah, well, let's see, anyway. Not quite 20 years ago. But it occurred to me, and at that time I was selling books on aging, so I obviously grabbed that one and read it and promoted it. And so I followed Ruth for a while from a distance, and then she became an adjunct professor at Springfield College in Manchester, and so I've gotten to know her personally since then, and followed her other books and her other editions. You can see on the information that I picked up what she's done. She's a late bloomer, age 45. She received a Ph.D. from Brandeis, you know. I one time had a young woman come to me and say at age 26, when she was going through some trauma, she said, oh, my life's all over, you know. What am I going to do? And, you know, right then she felt like it was, you know, I'm sure. But more and more we're beginning to realize that it ain't over till it's over, you know. And that's part of the philosophy. I think that's why Ruth fits in with Springfield College, because our students are adult learners, and she herself was one. Well, she's written many books. She's traveled. She's been in Wellesley. She's been head of the Department of Sociology at Clark. She's been at Elder Hospital. But a lot of people have written books, and a lot of people have degrees and, you know, do things. But I thought about, well, but why do I like Ruth? What do I see in her? And it occurred to me that she fulfills a lot of the things that a guy named Robert actually says that we should be doing as we age. And he says there are 5 components of successful aging. And one is zest. Another is resolution and fortitude. Taking the good with the bad, not giving up. Another is completion. Having the sense that you can accomplish what you want to. Another is self-esteem, maintaining a sense of yourself as a person of worth. And outlook, maintaining hope and being optimistic. And I think Ruth exhibits those to me. But in addition to that, she obviously makes herself available to people. She's here. She's going to Derry this afternoon. You know? She goes around. And she doesn't break the bank when she does it. She's made a choice that she wants to share her life. But not only does she share, not only does she make herself available, but she listens to you. And that, to me, is where she gets her power. So, Dr. Ruth.
Yeah, I'm the better Dr. Ruth. Come to tell the truth, and I hope by the time I'm done, you'll think I am the better one. One of the people who greeted me this morning knows a former student I had at Springfield College, and based on that and the title of my new book, she wrote a poem to welcome you. So I'm going to ask Barbara Hayden to come up here and read it.
Well, thank you, Ruth. I thought I was just going to slip this into your little ridicule there. Thank you. Outrageous old women. Come to a workshop, ladies. Outrageous old woman, they promise. The very idea is outrageous. No woman is old. Used or abused, maybe. Experienced, perhaps. But old is another thing altogether. Recalling on Golden Pond, wasn't it ancient that was the preferred term? Ancient with connotation of history? Or does it have to be her story? With generations experienced, perhaps learned from. Old? That goes with sneakers with no tongues or laces left. With things that stink up the fridge or clog the gutter. with last week's market specials and next week's excuses for doing nothing at all. Forever renewing, that's the ticket. A ticket to Mexico or across town. A ticket at the deli. A ticket on the Chevy. That's the ticket. Oh, yeah, oldie moly to you, too. Hey, Phil, I'm going to embarrass you. Would you stand up, please? Because she's the mother of the student who I know. And I have a new computer, and there's a lot of things it does. And one of the things it does is let me draw. So come here, Stella. I made portraits of Stella and me. Now, can you tell who's who?
Thank you very much. A few of you have been kind enough to find my book outrageous and let me autograph it for you. And I want to start out by saying that I hope you will do something outrageous every day, but that I meant the term outrageous in a new way. If you think about outrageous and divide it into 3 syllables, it's outrage us. In other words, being out of rage. And we older women have a lot to be angry about. There are decrements in aging. There's a lot of ageism in the society, whereby people put us down and treat us as invisible. Also, besides the losses that we have, bereavement, half of us are widows by 65, we also have a situation where we encounter almost every day of our lives a put-down. In fact, I could have a little argument with Barbara because she doesn't like the word old. I think the word old is fine. I think what has happened is society has put negative connotations on it, but that we have to not only say we're old, but rejoice in it. And I want to be out of rage. So I got my anger out at the put-down, and I wrote a poem expressing it, and you've been given that with your handouts, but I'd like to read it to you, because it gets my anger out. Don't call me a young woman. It's not a compliment or courtesy, but rather a grating discourtesy. Being old is a hard-won achievement, not something to be brushed aside, treated as infirmity or ugliness, or apologized away by a young woman. I'm an old woman, a long liver. I'm proud of it. I revel in it. I wear my gray hair and wrinkles as badges of triumphant survival, and I intend to grow even older. Don't call me a young woman. I was a young woman for years, but that was then, and this is now. I was a midlife woman for a time, and I celebrated that good span. Now I am somebody magnificent, new, a seer, wise woman, old, proud crone, an example and mentor to the young, who need to learn old women wisdom. I look back on jobs well done and learn to do different tasks now. I think great thoughts and share them. Don't call me a young woman. You reveal your own fears of aging. Maybe you better come learn from all of us wonderful old women how to take the sum of your life with all its experience and knowledge and show how a fully developed life can know the joy of a past well done and the joy of life left to live. I welcome you all to be outrageous older women and to be rasps. About 4 years ago, I started, just kind of as a joke when I was speaking, to invite people to join my organization called RASP, Remarkable Aging Smart People. And of course, it's a great organization because there are no dues, there are no meetings, there's no newsletter to clutter up your house, and I'll never dun you. And after I'd been going around speaking this way for a few years, I got a letter one day from the American Society on Aging, which is a very high prestige national organization, addressed to Ruth Harriet Jacobs, president of RASP. So if the American Society on Aging thinks RASP lives, it does. And that's an example of how you can be outrageous and get away with it. And I do sound like quite a braggart. I'm not really, but I'm trying to make a point that we can be flamboyant. At our age, we get the new freedom, the chance to do the things that we were intimidated to do before. Older women in this society suffer from what I call the 3 Ps, and I might say poo-poo, but the 3 Ps are propriety. They were brought up to be proper, that ladies, especially old ladies, should be proper. The second P is patriarchy, that men were important and that men controlled things and that you had to defer to them and women took second place. And the third is patterning. We were patterned, once they threw the pink blanket over us, to be docile. But there's a lot of research that shows that as we age, we come out of that. And men become more passive and nurturant in old age. And they don't come to meetings to hear about women. Isn't it sad? They're the ones who need to learn. And I thank the men that have come. And we, on the other hand, we women become more active and unfettered. And today, I want to start out. I have an awful lot to do today. I teach a course on counseling older women. I'll be teaching it at the Mass School of Professional Psychology, and I also teach it for the BU School of Social Work and Springfield College, and so on. And this course can take a long time, and I'm going to try to crowd it all into 2 hours. So if you get exhausted and you leave, then I won't get offended. And because for 2 hours you'll get sick of the sound of my voice, we have a cast of thousands. Well, not quite thousands, but I came early, and some of the rest of you came early to get good seats. There's still a few seats up front if the people in the back would like to move up. And we're going to start out, I believe in I'm a writer, and so there's 2 ways to write. One is to tell, and the other is to show. In tell, you describe something, and show, you actually play it out. And so today, I'm going to show you a little about women's lives with a cast that volunteered just at 20 minutes to 10. I grabbed them as they came in, and I'm very grateful to them. And we're going to put on I have written a play about women's lives today called Button, Button, Who Has the Button? And in this are many scenes of different age women. There's a conflict between a mother and daughter in one scene, and all the things we go through. But one scene, women from 20 to 80 sit in a circle like a support group or a therapy group, and they tell each other their stories. And because of the time, we're not going to do that whole scene. We're going to have only the women who are 50, 60, 70, and 80 tell what they're going through. And then some of the other women in the scene ask them questions or make comments. And I'm going to play simultaneously the 20-year-old, the 30-year-old, and the 40-year-old by adding those lines, because we didn't have enough room on the stage. So will my cast, my wonderful volunteers, come up and we will read this scene for you. And in some cases, they're the age of the women they're playing, and in other cases, they're just trying that age out. And the woman who's playing the 80-year-old, your name is? Mildred Brown is 82, and you're playing the 70-year-old. And then she's playing the 60-year-old. And the last, and your name is? Fran. And what's your real name?
Loretta.
Loretta.
Roshlow.
And your real name is?
Mary, and I'm playing Mary.
Okay. So now we're going to go, and I'm going to share the mic with each of them as they read.
Who am I? I was a wife for 30 years. One day my husband decided he didn't want to be married anymore to an older woman, though he was, of course, 4 years older than I. I've always thought it had something to do with the fact that his company passed him over for a promotion. He was stuck in a dead-end job he hated while younger fellows were zooming past him. Anyway, he had affairs with women much younger than himself. Thank God our children were grown and out of the house. Finally, he made one woman half his age pregnant, and he married her after our divorce. Now they have 2 babies, and I suppose he feels important at home, if not at work. As for me, I remember going shopping after he died. I kept walking around the market without putting anything in my car. Suddenly, I realized I didn't even know what I liked to eat. For years, I had been buying what he liked and what the children liked, and that is what I ate. I didn't even know my own taste in food. How was I going to make a life for myself? Though I was pretty depressed that Sunday, I went to a singles brunch I saw advertised in a newspaper. I got all dressed up. I guess I hoped to find a man. Well, the woman who ran the club came up to me and said, "Please, don't come back. You're too old for this group." I looked around. The men were my age, or lots older. I was devastated. Of course, I had gray hair then. I've had a colored since.
What did you do besides color your hair?
I cried a lot. At first, it was utter despair. Leaving the suburb in Whitefoot for a cheaper city apartment, I moved in my plants first, so something would greet me. The first morning I awoke at dawn to see the rats ballet a strange and frenzied circle beneath my window and said, there were worse things than rats. Strange things were happening to me. What is one to believe? The city screams at you, and you scream back, finding your voice someone else's shrill cry.
I guess you were scared.
Yes, and more than that. I envied those women who had husbands tucked them into cars and beds and who paid their dinner checks. My so-called freedom felt like unconnectedness. I thought, someday I will stay in bed forever, and no one will care or even know. I hated married women and was foolish enough to think they were all happy. Once I even wrote an imaginary letter to a suburbanite. You, with your small mouth and long tennis legs, living with antiques, a husband, roses, don't know what it is to live alone on women's tiny wages that buy starches and roaches. I'm cordially yours.
You had a right to be angry, I think.
Yes, and I wanted revenge. Before I saw my former husband again, I wanted to be loved, or at least desired and possessed, so that the creeping mildew of soul and body would not be intensified by the sight and smell of him, my lost and only lover of a long and wasted life destroyed by his rejection. I covered my pain with bravo, and I thought, Not wanting to turn to salt, I won't look back. Salt is tears. Tears are acid rain, and acid rain corrodes. I told myself, there are other fish in the sea and I will fry them. There are other rocks on the shore and I will throw them. There are other men in the world and I will try them. But it didn't work. There were a few nibbles, but I didn't land any fish. I didn't know how lonely I was until I met him. I said, I am divorced. He said, well, his loss is some other man's gain. And I answered too honestly, there is no other man, and hoped that there might be. He was silent then and forever after.
Yes, men are often afraid of getting involved. I know how you felt to be rejected.
Do you? Humiliating to wait at 50 for a call, for a word, for a kiss from a man hardly known, pushing aside droll-open women, fine friends to chase his scent, knowing it is better to wait for a call never coming than not to wait or want at all.
Do you still feel that way?
No, at least not often. I accept my singleness. It happened rather suddenly. Once, passing a certain place, I joyfully contemplated being there and then realized it was the sort of a place that my husband and I had often been together. And for the very first time, I really knew what all those legalities had failed to teach. My marriage was as dead as my youth, and all my mourning and seeking would not bring them back. Since then I have gained strength. Joining this support group has helped. It was good because I had a setback when my boss fired me to hire a young pretty secretary. We will work hard for low wages gratefully, but they much prefer our daughters and even granddaughters. The unwanted cringe, our backs ache, our eyes dull. We even stop thinking that we are worth hiring.
I remember you were pretty depressed then. We had to help restore your self-confidence. We nagged you to get some training for a better job.
Well, it wasn't easy, but I did take the courses, and you all encouraged me through them, and through the awful job search. You, Jennifer, gave me a good lead that led to a new job. It's lucky I changed jobs because at my new place, there are other women alone. Doing things with them helps me cope with the Noah's Ark syndrome. They are still coming 2 by 2 off the ark. Hostesses do not invite unescorted single women, divorcees, or even widows, expecting that they will rape husbands, steal homes, or worse trauma at all, mean an odd number at the table. What kind of orgies need such pairings?
You make me feel terrible. It's true I haven't often included my widowed women friends when my husband and I invite our couple friends over. But I really thought the singles would be uncomfortable. It isn't that I didn't want them. As a matter of fact, sometimes when I do ask one, she refuses to come because she would be the only single. It's a two-way street. Well, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I had to say that. I was wondering, did you finally get used to the city?
It was hard that first winter. I didn't think I would make it, but I did. I rushed to the ocean during the February thaw to find dried seagrass waving tall and golden under feet by the stars. There by the shore, I danced with the grass, excluding at my strength to bear aloneness shoving at the grass. We have weathered the winter, you and I. We are kin. We are kin. We are kin. I felt proud of coping. I have learned to blow the horn, threatened landlords, utility companies, and meter maids, use public parks, thrift shops, and free clinics. Insult insulters. Ignore accosters. Trust strangers when feasible. See rainbows in the gutters. Find in the alleys parking spaces, boxes for bookcases, wildflowers, even furniture. Now I sleep through neighbors' parties, drown out trucks with Beethoven, fixed doorknobs, outward paid toilets, swing at hotels though not registered. A new city kid at 50 learns fast. Well, I'm sorry I took so long to tell my story. Virginia, here's the button.
I'm glad things are better now, Mary. I used to think being divorced was easier than being widowed. When someone dies, you blame yourself. You say, what did I do wrong? You feel guilty for living.
Women blame themselves for divorce too. They ask, what did I do wrong to make you behave that way? They even blame themselves when their children get divorced. Since we have so little power in the world, we over-extravagate our importance in the family, which is the only place many of us are allowed to feel important.
I guess so. Anyway, I know a lot of women lose husbands through divorce or death. There are lots of widows around because men marry younger women and die younger. But it seemed at first as if I was the only one. I understand, Mary, about your letter to a suburbanite. We were best friends with our neighbors. And after Ralph's death, it seemed, wherever I went, they were always together. She was the echo of his steps, and he drew in her closeness like a fragrance. Silent and close, they dreamt by the fire, spent as the embers, simple with loving. Watching their unison, I yearned for moments that never again would be for me, for me, for me. Oh, I did my share of crying too. I suppose it is good I did. If I had to give advice to others, I'd say, when a loved one is dying, go into the woods and cry. Only pure beauty, like the sight of sun on water, or bird songs in loved trees that he will never share again, will bring those tears for his darkness and yours. The clumsy comfort of friends and a strange running of bargaining you will do will only make a tighter vice about your throbbing head and angry throat. Go alone to beauty. Mourn your aloneness and weep for the loved one, and for yourself, and for the fragility of life when the world shared is so beautiful. In the end, we are all alone, but there is still beauty. It is eternal, and so are memories alive in us. For me, the memory of Ralph is very strong. I am not a single at heart. I can't go to bars or clubs like some women alone do, seeking to end singleness, at least for one night. I know times have changed, but I haven't. I suppose I am still his. Sometimes I have thought the pressure of another body would wipe away his imprint, but my desire flows backward, stubborn as the tide, to the wedding bed. So I wear his ring still, cursing the throat lump that certain music brings.
Weren't you ever angry at what happened to you?
Certainly. Once I baked bread, and because I had to eat it alone, threw half into the yard for the dogs. I even went through a period of isolation and self-pity. I shut myself away thinking, plants are more predictable than people. If you give plants enough water, light, and warmth, they will reward you. People, on the other hand, even given considerable attention, may forget you, or become hostile, or even die. Begonias are better. I was actually mad at my children and grandchildren for being occupied with their own lives. I hated the empty nest. I felt I had no home. There was no love in those walls which enclosed my grief, no comfort in plants and colors with which I tried to deceive. There cannot be a home for one where there had been many. A woman alone becomes an orphan, crying in the night, with only cold walls to hear.
You seem all right now. It's hard to believe you were like that. How did you get to feeling better?
I'm not sure. Maybe time. Maybe my need and strength to survive. One day I was ready to give up what seemed an impossible life. The next day there was light and air and energy. The dark had gone as quickly as it came. I could exult again at music and at the sight of sun on snow. The papers I had thrown about to signal my despair could be put in neat and manageable piles. I could do what needed to be done and what before seemed a task beyond endurance. Even though I had lost him, I would not wear black and put on spring colors, being as I was meant to be. Yesterday I mourned. Today I have life to celebrate. I have myself. I realized it was not my fault Ralph was dead, and that he would want me to enjoy life. I began to do things and take as many trips as I could afford. If not now, when? I am luckier financially than many widows. At the slightest invitation, I bed down in strange cities. From my lair in Bedford Square, I took London in a week. Paris is my harem now, and Aberdeen and Amsterdam and Bath and Berkeley too. New York and Washington are mine. I have dallied with Chicago, San Francisco, and Tucson, Puerto de la Cruz, and Marrakesh. I do not love you less because I made Atlanta mine. If I cannot have lovers, I shall have cities. 60 cannot be coy as 20 with lovers waiting in the wings. I go boldly to conquer cities. Who is to judge of consummations and compensations? I also decided when home to get out daily for exercise and seeing people. I joined the Y and began to use the pool. We are sweatless and weightless, purity personified. Our rhythmic motion accompanying as we unite with fluids of our individual and species birth. We are grateful for oceans, lakes, and pools where body merges intimately with perfect medium, so even those unlucky or clumsy everywhere else glide and hide gracefully into crystal refuge.
Swimming works off sexual energy, too.
Yes, I knew. I know. If they knew how sensuous swimming was. They might ban it. I am in the exercise class at the Y, too. Also, I made some terrific new women friends there, including Elizabeth, whom I brought tonight to this group. Elizabeth is a dedicated, almost full-time volunteer at the Y and other places. She got me into volunteering, and that helped me, too. The least I could do was get her into this group. And now the least I could do is give Elizabeth her turn to talk.
Well, I've been listening to all your troubles and feel lucky that at 70 I still have my husband. He is special, a truly faithful and kind man. Not all men are like your ex, Mary. Our marriage has lasted 50 years. So far, we have our health, are enjoying life, and can help others. It feels good to be 70. 70 is being outside on a November day, knowing the fragility of sunshine. 70 is facing lost causes and fighting on having little to lose. 70 is loss and dry tears unseen, but also passion and private jokes suddenly revealed by life. 70 is waking early to seek treasures which there is no room to hold. 70 is sensing which stranger will give the ecstasy of friendship and who will betray. At 70, you grasp wisdom in your hands while they are still strong. Go into 70, hoping and loving you will be women made beautiful by having lived well and long.
You give me courage to get older.
Thanks. I've decided what is important in life. We tend to obsess something about nothings. I'm beyond that now. Having climbed the mountain, I came down the other side, carrying carefully mementos collected with great effort going up. Halfway down, I stopped and suddenly hurled away those no longer treasures, amazed I had treasured such burdens. I have learned to live each day and be grateful for it. We women are lucky because we love to nurture and can nurture through life, though not always in the same way that we once did. I love being a senior volunteer, and I love days like the one I had at the beach last May. I lust for the ocean. In May, when the sunners huddle with shawls on the beach, I swim the waves alone, warm with joy. My sole ownership was challenged when Amy, 7½, introduced herself and asked how to float. "Don't be afraid and you won't sink," I said. She replied, "I'll play dead." "Not dead," I told her. "Just relax. The water hose." Neither of us cold, 70, swam with 7. I taught her how to float while her parents' son and Amy stroked my toes. In gratitude, teaching love. Wherever you go, Amy, I shall go. In the spring, you are 70, you will recall how a May swimmer taught you courage. Though I shall be long gone, I will live then in you, my child and my sister. Yes, life is good. The only thing I worry about is that my health will fail, or that Jim will get sick, or that I will become senile. Even my children grow old. I see my years written on their once soft faces, now wise and worn. I hope at 80 I can still do the things I love. Dora, what is it like to be 80?
You are the same as you have always been. A little achy sometimes and slower and forgetful. Yet within you are all the things you ever were and more. 2 years past 80, I forget a lot of things I don't want to remember. I like watching my words. I remember a lot of things I thought I had forgotten, like Miss Brown, who made kindergarten another home. 2 years past 80, I own my old body with all its imperfections and like myself. 2 years past 80, I spot a new bird, learn a wildflower's name, see a great-grandchild smile, hear live for the first time, Bach's Sonata in C major, tell the president off, drink a new one, make new friends of you. There are lots of good things. However, the bad thing is some people don't see you at all. They see only age and reject and belittle you because of that. It makes me furious when they talk to me as if I were a child. Mad turned inward becomes sad, so I express my anger. I say to the world, I am in this old body, but not of it. My mind runs barefoot, unwinded along the ocean, and my spirits climb mountains. Who are you to judge me unfit and unlovable when I so love this world and human touch? You know, some people never touch old people as if they were repulsive. When I was in the hospital, I noticed that the interns and medical students stood practically across the room from me, and they couldn't wait to get out of the room. It was different for young patients. Old folks have the same needs as other people for closeness. I let them know how I felt about it. I'll make a prediction. I will leave as I came, screaming pain. I shall not accept with grace the indignities of age, and the indignities to age but exit not too soon, decrying my doom, hating my fate, protesting my loss, pushing back the end with every angry breath.
I like what you said. I admire your guts. I need to learn how to be 80 in a world insensitive to older people. Can you be specific about how to handle folks when they treat us as stupid because we are old?
I'll give you an example. The electric company overcharges me, but there is nowhere else I can buy electricity. I call to complain. They yes me, but they still overcharge. I will keep calling and talking. How much an hour do they pay their telephone clerks?
Not bad. It gives me some ideas. I know what Dora... Sorry.
I know what Dora and Elizabeth mean about ages. I feel it already at 60. Getting
And certainly at 50 you experience it, as I told you.
And at 40, even at 30, the double standard of aging exists. Men and employers bypass you for the 20-year-olds. At college, many senior men prefer the freshman girls.
Ageism is a common disease. You learn to live with it, but you should try hard to do what you can about it. Don't wait until my age to fight ageism. Also, more young women have to prepare for aging by getting to know older women. I'm glad I have you all as friends. I lost my husband and many friends to death. A few of my friends older than I do not recognize me, but I have come to some reconciliation with my losses. No love is lost, even though the lover turns away from us all life. Within us are the people we have loved, not as they were, but as we wanted them to be. As our fresh grief softens to sorrow, we suddenly discover the lover's eyes in our mirror, the lover's words on our lips, even the beloved's jokes have become ours. What reality has taken, we have taken for our own. Nothing is ever lost. Layers of our being contain all that has lived for us or that we imagined. We exude the strength of our losses, and our gains glow even in the dark. All in all, friends, being 80, or even 90, or 100 is not bad considering the alternative. I'm alive. I'm well. I survive. I survive well. Well, to survive as well as I do, ladies, I need my rest. I think it is time to end this meeting. If anyone has anything else to say, you better do it fast.
I'm alive, I'm well, I survive well.
I'm alive. I'm well. I survive well.
I'm alive. I'm well. I survive well.
I'm alive, I'm well, I survive well.
We will rest together on our ambivalences.
We will
share islands as we struggle toward an uncharted shore. Thank you. Okay. See me afterwards. Okay?
Where am I?
Thank you. Real talent. They are surviving well, but in order to do so, they had to make changes in their lives, and I want to